Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, just welcome. How's it going? In this video today, we are going to be making the updated version of the Emily bag, and this is the structured tote version. I like to describe that this series of different versions of making a bag is like a choose your own adventure, because there are options to add more pockets, less pockets, zippers, less zippers, snaps, zippers, more zippers, no zippers, I don't know, you do you. But in this version we have used Woven Fuse and Decoville with this gorgeous Rifle Paper Co. canvas. So the bag feels amazing and it's standing up on its own. It's got a nice weight. We used a little bit of Peltex in the bottom, just trying to use up my Peltex. And then we added an outer zippered pocket, which I actually placed a little bit lower than the pattern suggests. My bad, follow the pattern. But I'm here to teach you the pattern. Anyway, so we added a recessed zipper panel, and the recessed zipper panel is a really nice fit on this bag. I'm very happy with the adjustments I've made to this pattern. We did add crossbody strap connectors as well as shoulder strap connectors. And when we open it up, we'll see that there is a slip pocket. You can choose to make this a zipper pocket. And then I added 2 large slip pockets as well. And these are the instructions for the sectioned slip pocket. And then I just went ahead and added a little snap hook where my sister could clip her keys or just anything she wants, really. So this bag is just a delight to make. I always love making it. It was based off of specifications my sister Emily wanted, which is why it's called the Emily bag. And then I was like, people sell patterns, like I can write a pattern, I could sell it. And I released it 2 years ago, and after so many people have had issues and after so many people asking me to rewrite it, I finally did, with everything I've learned since then. So it's kind of cool to look back on it. But yeah, so it's a big bag. It's 18 inches wide just about, but it's also a nice sized bag. We added the 28-inch handles. So these are the largest size on the pattern, but you can of course make them longer if you wish. But they fit under the shoulder really nice, and I have generously sized arms, so yeah. But you can choose to make them a little shorter, and then it would be like grab handles or medium size or just whatever. So here's what this bag looks like. This is what we're making in the video today, but not until you subscribe. I'm just gonna sit right here in my chair. I'm gonna grab my cat. Yep. Oh, he's not happy about it. But we're just gonna sit here. We're just gonna wait for you to subscribe. Did you do it yet? So I can let him go. Holding him hostage. Okay, have fun making the video, guys. Making the video. I made the video. Making the bag. Okay, bye. So I'm starting with the crossbody strap. I'm gonna get that all ready since I am making a fabric crossbody strap. So my fabric wasn't quite long enough, so what I'm doing is I'm piecing it together. And when that is the case, you're gonna put your fabrics perpendicular to each other at a 90-degree angle, and then you're gonna make a mark 45 degrees from end to end, and then you'll trim your excess, and then when you fold it open, you've kind of made like a bias cut and your fabrics are together. So that's a little trick I have for you. Just gonna trim off my excess. If you want to, you can kind of stitch it. You can add a butterfly stitch to it, or you could stitch it down right there if you wanted to. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making my crossbody strap really quick, and we are going to be folding this in half. I'm just going to add a little bit of steam over that seam. Steam your seam, y'all. Alright, so folding the long raw edges inward. One side to the next. I'm going to be showing you guys how to insert the non-woven interfacing into your strap, because it's always hard for me to read something. I need to, I need to see it to believe it, if you will. So we're folding this long strip to one side, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open it up, and then we're gonna fold those sides in to the center. So if you've made many straps before, you know exactly what we're doing. So just folding that long raw edge straight into the center. If you guys are like super tired of making crossbody straps, I do sell pre-made canvas straps on my website. They are just black at the moment, but they're not like the cotton webbing that you can buy. They're actually like canvas sewn together, and they work great in the hardware that I sell as well. They're really thick, really strong straps. So if you're tired of making them, I know where you can get some. That noise is just my iron. I like to use a lot of steam when I'm pressing fabric. It just makes things nice and crisp. So that's what I like to do. All right, so now I have my strap folded. You can see you've got your long raw edges here. And we have a 2-inch piece. This is this isn't Decoville. This is 809 or Craft Fuse. And I'm just gonna lay it in between the folds. So this is a great way to make thicker straps if you have a machine that isn't great at going through thick fabrics, because this 809 gives a lot of thickness without giving density. It's really lightweight. So then when you fold this over, you've got a really nice sturdy strap that feels kind of like a Vera Bradley strap if you've ever seen her bags. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this over to my machine. I do have another piece because it isn't long enough, but I'm going to fuse this, and then I'm going to come back and we're ready to sew. I have to adjust my camera some more. While you're at your ironing board, you can fold your piece in half as well and get it all ready to go. And then I only need a few inches of the 809 in the end of my strap, so I'm just going to kind of overlap them slightly, just so nobody can feel where it stops, and continue fusing. Alright, so now I'm going to grab some clips, fold it in half. Oops. there. Sorry. Okay. So my stitch length is set to 4.5, and we're gonna sew this crossbody strap. That is my favorite part about having an industrial. It is so much quicker to make crossbody straps, or any strap for that matter. All right, so now we have this really nice feeling thick, but not too thick strap, and we're going to grab our slide adjuster. This is a 1-inch slide adjuster, and we're just gonna slide that in one side of the bar, back out the other, and then we're gonna fold it over to hide that raw edge. And then we're gonna top stitch. I like to add 2 rows of stitching just to make it that much more secure. Oh my goodness, bobbin gods are on our side. That was the perfect amount of bobbin for that strap, and my mind is just totally blown. That was amazing. Let's do that again. I like to just make a little square. And then you could even add a diagonal line of stitching if you wanted, but I'm not going to, because that should be secure enough. Okay, so now we're gonna make sure we keep that end facing up. I like to call this the wrong side, and I'm gonna take my snap hook and feed it through, and then pull it through the closest end of that strap end. So we just kind of bring it together and go through that. I'm gonna pull it through quite a long ways so that I know it's not twisted at all, and then we're gonna go through on the opposite slide bar and pull it through. And then I'm gonna flip it over so that I can't see my slide adjuster, and I'm gonna grab my snap hook. With the hook in my hand, I'm gonna slide it through, and then I'm gonna fold it over twice. Boop, boop, to hide that raw end. And here is where I'll probably add like a box stitch or something. And this bag is actually for my sister, my oldest sister, Sarah. I saw this fabric and I was like, well, I need to make a sample video for my new rewrite, so would you like a bag, Sarah? And she was like, oh my god, yes please, because I don't often get to make her items. All right, so our crossbody strap is finito, so I like to just kind of hook it together and then side to the side, and I I will get started on the other handles. So this is kind of like a choose your own adventure bag, so you can decide what strap length is best for you. I am going with 28-inch handles for this bag. I want it to be nice and long for her to throw it on over her shoulder, or if her husband needs it because they're going to use it as a diaper bag, then he can grab it easily as well. So I'm just adding a piece of tape down the center. I'm going to fold in the ends. And this is 1/2-inch double-sided tape from waywack.com. They also call it leather tape. So, yeah. Just pressing those sides in. And then with a longer stitch length, I'm just going to go down one side and then around and down the other, and then meet them back up on the end. Someone messaged me earlier this week and they asked if there's a big learning curve between industrials and domestic machines. Definitely there is. I remember the first week I had my industrial, I definitely got a little frustrated. I think there was a lot of cursing involved. Honestly, it might have been the first month, but like I had no choice. I had orders, I needed to make bags. And I'm so glad that I just kind of stuck it out and learned to love my machine, because we don't always get along, but we do love each other. Are you married to your machine? Yes, I am, actually. All right, other strap. And then I'm gonna add these nickel strap ends that I'm gonna start carrying on my website. They look pretty awesome. I'm excited. And these just clamp on instead of having to screw them on. Can be a little bit of a pain. I always like to try and start with a fresh bobbin when I work on straps. Only because you really don't want to run out of bobbin thread in the middle of sewing. My excess thread, and then I'm going to trim off a little bit of the end of my strap, just a tiny little bit there. Throw those in the trash. So to add these clamp-on strap ends, you need, I think this is a glass breaking tool. It's supposed to have these rubber ends, but mine move around a lot. So what I do is I just kind of line up the tips together and push down. Oh my gosh, these are amazing! Sorry, I usually buy ones from a company called Blue Muna, and they fall off, but these are amazing. Okay, so I just line it up in between my fingers, kind of hold it in place, and then push up and then down. So these are incredible. I am so excited. I can't wait to have these in all the colors. All right, so now I'm gonna just set this strap aside and add the next set. And what those teeth do is they like grab in there and smush down. And if they don't, then they're not gonna stay very well. So I kind of like push up and then I down. I don't know, it's a very interesting hand movement, but I feel like it makes them more secure. So there are our strap ends. We're gonna test those out. See how we like those. I do have, if you're watching this within the first week or second week of October of 2018, if you place an order for hardware on my website and you mention in the notes to seller that you would like to try on those strap ends, then I will send you some for free with your order. I have a few sizes left. Okay. So now that our straps and handles are all finished, we can move on to the exterior of the bag. Alright, so now we are going to prep the exterior of our bag and set all my lining pieces aside. That's my zipper, that's the base, that's my lining, that's part of my zipper. This is my exterior. I do want to add an exterior pocket. So like I said earlier, this is kind of like a choose your own adventure bag, so you can add pockets in all kinds of different places. You could make them slip pockets, zippered pockets. You know, there's so many different options, and I really wanted to showcase all of them, which is why there are so many different pages before you actually start making the bag. So I am going to be adding my crossbody strap connectors as well as regular strap connectors. So I have a total of 6 pieces here that are cut 2 inches by 4 inches. And what I'm going to be doing is using double-sided tape down the center, folding the raw edges in. And then adding my bag hardware. I would like to apologize again if I bump my camera or if it starts to shake too bad. I have a really like heavy duty tripod that my camera's on along with my ring light so that it's nice and bright, but it gets a little top heavy, etc. Okay. So we're just folding all the edges in. And I like to just make them all at once. I know the instructions say to kind of do them step by step, but once you get the rhythm, you can kind of figure out what works best. Those 4. All right, so now I'm gonna get another piece of double-sided tape. I'm gonna take and just kind of lay it not in the center, but just a little bit lower than the center. Just a little square. There we go. So now I'm gonna take 4 rectangle rings. These are 1 inch wide. There is like a small welded section. I usually like to add that to the strap connector. And then we're gonna fold it under 1 inch. So there should be an inch there. And then fold the bottom side up. And then if you want to, you can kind of clip that together or add a little piece of tape, which I will be doing eventually, but we'll do that for now. So we're gonna thread that through. Oh, that one's taped a little lower than I would have liked. Whoops. And it can be a little more than 1 inch, as you saw that one was. You just wanna make sure that it's folded under enough so that you can add a rivet or a box stitch or something to secure that, because you want to make sure this bag can hold a lot of weight. So hopefully you can see there's about an inch here, and then there's a little less than an inch down there. But again, the top is what's holding the bag together. The bottom, you know, is just kind of closing off that edge. Okay, so we've got our 4 rectangle rings ready to go, and I'm gonna grab my 1 inch triangle buckles. These are gonna go through the side, fold over. And you can choose to make this bag without the 4 rectangle rings and choose to only do it crossbody style. People love crossbody bags, so it's always a good option. Tell these are not my hardware. Yikes. Okay, they'll still work. So there's all of those prepared. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set my 2 triangle buckles aside. We're not ready for these yet. So I'm just gonna lay them somewhere. I will be able to find them later. And these are all ready to go. I'm gonna add a little piece of tape over that. And this double-sided tape, again, helps you attach it to the bag so it stays on straight. You actually don't even have to sew through the double-sided tape on the back, so if your machine is a little wishy-washy as far as double-sided tape goes, if you're using it to attach your connector to the bag, for this bag especially, it will work. Okay. So now I'm going to add an exterior zippered pocket. Oh man, I didn't even pick out my zippers for this bag. So let's see, we are now on page 11. Okay, so I believe I want to add this 4 inches from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. You want to start your zippered pocket about 4 inches from the top. So I've got my lining pocket piece here. I went ahead and cut this on the fold. You could have chosen to have it as 2 separate pieces. It's totally okay. Literally either one is right. My fabric was just folded, so I was like, all right, well, I'm doing that. Okay, so we're gonna fold that in half and this piece in half and lay those right sides together. And then I'm gonna clip them together at the bottom. Just like that, so that it doesn't do any kind of shifting. You don't want a shifty pocket. All right, so 4 inches down from the top is where I'm going to start my zipper pocket. do I need it lower? Let's do 5 inches. Why not 5 inches? So a 7-inch, just kind of line up the zipper template at that center crease and go inside the box. I don't know what I would do without those templates. Okay. Oh, crap. Sorry. There we go. Try not to hit that with the wheel of my chair again. So now I'm going to cut that open. I'm just laying my accent piece down on top to make sure it looks straight, and it does look straight, so that's good. So I'm gonna cut using the pattern piece marks. You want to make sure you carefully cut next to, but not through. So now we can turn this right side out and carefully press. So I'm just going to turn it through this hole. And press. I'm going to grab a coordinating 7-inch zipper. Oh my gosh. Actually matches really well. Alright. So there is my pocket kind of mapped out. I'm going to grab my overlay. And I'm going to use a little bit of basting spray. You could also use a little bit of double-sided tape if you needed to. I'm just going to lay this in my trash can and spray it and then take it out. I always like to keep that spray contained. It does cause my trash to be a little sticky though. And then we're just going to carefully line that up, the opening. And then I'm going to stitch around just the outside edge for now. And then kind of keep my thread together, and I'm going to switch over to the inside square, and then I'm going to add my zipper. If you wanted to make this only a slip pocket, you don't need to add the zipper. You could just stitch around the outside and then the inside and then bring the piece together and sew it shut. So lots of options. How fun is this orange zipper with this? I am digging it. Hopefully my sister does too. Whoops. All right, make sure your pocket is not folded weird in any way. Make sure nothing is under it. And I actually like to kind of start at a corner. And my stitch length is set to 3.5. I do prefer this, especially going around these tight little corners, little curves. So you just go nice and slow around the edge. So we're back at that corner. So I'm gonna grab my 7-inch zipper and place it underneath. I have ironed my zipper already so that there's no odd bunching or anything like that. And just kind of pull it into place. You should be able to see both sides of your zipper. And then lay the foot down on that corner. Back stitch, and just go really slow. You want to make sure your zipper doesn't start to get wavy or anything like that. And just go nice and slow along the accent. Kind of readjust your zipper as you go. You want to make sure nothing gets moved. And you should be sewing through your vinyl and the edge of your open zipper panel. You can see right here a little bit, it's only sewing through the vinyl and the zipper, so it's kind of like hiding that edge and making it a little bulkier than it should be, so that's my bad. But that's why I have my finger here, so I can kind of feel where it is on the edge. Did I say I have my zipper here or my finger here? Zip it. All right. So now you can pull that off. Kind of clip all your extra little threads. I am going to be using my thread burner. If you would like the link to purchase this, it is in the description of this video. So we're just gonna press down on the button and it just melts that thread away. Gives it a nice seal so that it doesn't start to fray too. Okay. All right. So now I can lift up the pocket and just sew in a U shape. And if you decide that you want to make your pocket a little bit bigger than 7 inches, you can absolutely do that. You can make it a 9-inch zipper. 12-inch is probably as big as I would go. Anything more than that is just a little unnecessary. Okay. Sorry, I have to rearrange this one more time. I don't remember where I had it the last time I filmed, so I'm so sorry. But like, it didn't bug me last time. All right, we're gonna keep it like that because it's out of my way, I hope. Fingers crossed. All right, so now we can add our strap connectors. So we're gonna need all 4 of the strap connectors. If you're not adding shoulder straps, you can skip this step. Okay, so here is the top of our bag 1.5 inches by 18 inches. And then we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches in. So it's gonna be centered over the 5-inch mark. I definitely could have put my zipper where I was thinking of adding it. There is a pattern piece marking that has where it can go. Just saying. So 1, 2, 3, 4.25 or 4.5, sorry. So centered over that 5-inch mark. Yes. We're gonna sew those in place. I'm gonna switch to a stitch length of 4. I don't like to do, whew, oh my God. That's terrifying. I don't usually sew in slippers, but I have slippers on and I hit the pedal and I didn't realize. Okay, slipper's coming off. That could have gone through my finger. You guys always be safe when you're sewing. Okay. So we're just gonna go slowly around that connector. I'm leaving my threads long so I can burn them off. Sewing is a very fickle thing. Like your chair has to be right in the right spot. The weather has to be just right. Do you guys have any weird sewing necessities? Like I can't sew unless these and these are all right. Like I've had 5 cups of coffee. Not really. I don't really drink coffee. I like coffee. I've been learning to like coffee, I should say. But I don't know. All right. Ooh, this is looking so cute. So I'm gonna add my other connector and then we'll add our bottom accent panels. Okay, so I think I like this to be the bottom, so I'll make this the top. Okay, 1.5 inches from the top. And centered over the 5-inch mark. I keep thinking my trash can is in one spot, but it's in another. So I'm just throwing everything on the ground. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. That one's not right, is it? No, that one's 3.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. I've totally done that before though. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. There we go. That looks right. It's really weird that there is like a very specific spot that is just right for handles to go. Like these could go in a little bit closer if you wanted, but then it would look like a lot on the outside. So they're like centered in between the centers. Nice and slow around those connectors, kind of backstitch at the beginning of all of your stitches to secure those connectors. And I'm actually kind of counting in my head the number of stitches per side, so that they kind of end up even. I know a lot of people are like, how do you get your connector stitches so straight? It's like, well, for one, the machine is awesome, but also I just kind of count the stitches as I go subconsciously. All right, so we're just gonna burn off those extra threads. And I've noticed that some bags that I've made over time, the stitching kind of just starts to wear away. So I'm excited I found this tool. My friend Lily suggested it to me and I bought it immediately. It is amazing. All right, so now if you're going to add rivets, this would be the place to do it. I am going to add rivets. Sadly, you won't be watching me do that. So I apologize for that. But I am going to reset this up too. All right, we're reorganized. Sorry this has been so many separate videos, but I think I finally got everything set up the way I need it to be. Sorry. All right, so the next step is to attach the contrast pieces and bottom panel. So I'm gonna start with my pocketed section because I don't really wanna sew through that part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna flip that up and then clip this in place. So you want your notched piece to be facing up towards your connectors, as depicted in the diagram as well. So this is the wrong side of our contrasting panel. I'm just gonna add 3 little clips and repeat with the other side. So these little cutouts facing up. And then we're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm using a stitch length of 4. So switch my stitch length down, and then I'm gonna fold this down as well. So my seam is down towards the accent panel. Make sure your pocket is still up out of the way, otherwise you're gonna stitch through it and then you're gonna have a much smaller pocket. Okay. Start on this end. I'm gonna go nice and slow again. I don't wanna sew through my pocket. About 1/8 of an inch away from that edge. If you choose, I mean, it is your bag, so you can choose to sew however you'd like. You can flip your seam up the other way and top stitch on your cotton fabric. It's really up to you. It depends on what kind of look you're going for. I always like to stitch on the vinyl just because it's so satisfying. And it's a little bit stronger than your canvas is, or your exterior fabric. So if you folded it the other way, this little ridge would be of this fabric and it would wear away faster. So that is my reasoning behind that. Moving on. That is all ready to go. Repeat the steps. Now take the bottom panel, piece 4, which is this doobity-doo right here. We're gonna put it right sides together. You wanna center it in between those notches. Buenos notches. Anyway, sorry. A smaller stitch length, I'm gonna stick with 4. And we're just gonna sew right next to that stabilizer. End to end. And then I'm going to flip it down. So you will be sewing through the stabilizer and through that side seam. I'm just gonna bump my stitch length up one little notch. That also just helps keep your stabilizer in place in case you had trouble fusing it or anything like that. And then we're gonna repeat those steps on the other side. So just kind of lay it over like that. Switch that stitch length back down to a 4. So again, sewing right next to that stabilizer. Okay, and then we can sew that down. If you do not like that your vinyl is maybe a little slouchier than the top of your panel, you could always interface your vinyl with a little bit of woven fuse or Decovil. AKA woven interfacing non-woven. But I figure most of the stuff that you put in your purse is floating at the bottom of the bag, so it's gonna give it a little extra stability anyway. I don't know, I just kind of like the look that it gives. So at this time, if you wanted to add purse feet, this would be the best opportunity to do so. So where those would go is, I use this little ruler, 1.5 inches from the outside edge and 1 inch from the top stitch edge, right here, right here, right here, right here, and then measure a mark in the center and add your purse feet. I will not be adding purse feet to this bag just because it doesn't really need them, and I don't feel like adding them. So bring the main panels right sides together. We're going to take care to match up these contrasting side panels. So I always like to start with those and add a clip. Add a clip. And that will take us to approximately page number 13. I say approximately because it might change a little bit when I update the pattern. Just a little bit. Okay, so a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, I'm gonna use a somewhat short but not too short stitch length of a 4. 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I like to add a little back stitch over those side panels just to secure the stitching. I'm gonna come all the way up. And just kind of re-situate the side. 1/2 inch seam allowance. Boop, boop. Alright, so the bag is still wrong side out, and I'm gonna open up my side seam. And this is where you could kind of lay it on your ironing board and press that seam down. Just kind of shove one side out of the way, press it down. So my seam is laying open, nice and flat. I'm gonna grab my triangle connectors. Use a smaller piece but longer. Okay, where's my little ruler? And then 1.5 inches from the top. And you see I've got my ruler kind of centered over that, so there's 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. And then I'm going to just push my vinyl connector right up against my ruler and then lay it on. And I did use double-sided tape, so it's it's stuck there pretty good. And then we can sew it just like we did the connectors on the bag. Sure that that side seam doesn't shift while you're sewing. Oops. And then when I get to one side, I'm just gonna go diagonally across to the other side. And then if you wanted to, you could repeat for the other side. And that is just going to give you an extra strong strap connector, because you can't really add a rivet here. You could on like either side, but you don't want to rivet through that side seam or it's going to start to tear. Ask me how I know. So I'm just going to really quick burn those threads. And then this one here, you can just kind of pull on that jump thread and burn it, and then it's like it never happened. But you also didn't stitch over that connector again and kind of compromise your stitching by adding too many. So that's what it looks like from the back side. And having this extra fabric behind the strap connector again is just going to add that much more strength. It's going to be less likely to tear. This is not going to come apart anytime soon. So that's why I do it that way. So we're just going to repeat that same step on this side. Just going to kind of smash it down with my hand. If you would like to, you can kind of move your seam to one side or the other, but it just kind of makes the side seam look a little weird. So that's why I always like to add it flat. If you wanted to, this is something I've wanted to do to a bag for a while, and I might do it on the next one I make. Since we have these side seams open right now, what you could do is you could open your seam on both sides and stitch down the whole length of the side. Doot, doot, doot. And then on the other side, kind of like a butterfly stitch. I'm definitely doing it on the next one. So be sure to watch the all vinyl exterior video if you want to know what that looks like. Because I also want to know what it looks like. Let's hope I don't forget. All right, so 1.5 inch from the side. As you can see, my panels are a little uneven. It happens. You know, I'm not a machine, I'm human. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure from the shortest side, because we're gonna have to cut down one side to kind of make up for it. Trim it down just a little bit. Okay, so make that seam flush and just butt that up against the zipper. Press. Secure that double-sided tape on the clip. And we're gonna sew that on. Keep your foot way above the gas pedal. And if you're wondering what this little piece of vinyl is that I keep putting behind the foot, it is just a little scrap piece of vinyl I use to make sure that my heavy-duty walking foot doesn't scuff up the vinyl underneath. Because when you backstitch and whatnot, it will. As you can see, it's really torn up this piece. So, and that's only when there's hardware involved. So if you're getting this machine and you're worried it's always going to happen to you, it's only when there's a height difference and vinyl or hardware involved. Okay, so just repeating that box stitch nice and secure. Oh yeah, baby, yeah. Okay, trimming all my threads. Grab my threads. This is a zipper. So now we are ready to sew up our bottom corners. We're going to open the side seams and then clip these openings together. You can kind of see it. Your bag kind of naturally wants to do that, but you're going to fold them together. I like to add 3 clips here. And then you're going to be stitching from this line all the way down to this line. So you're not going to go out really far into the ends. I know it seems a little weird, but I have tested it and it does work and it looks nice. If you decide, no, I'm going to sew from end to end, go for it. There's no like wrong way, I'm telling you. It'll still look good. You'll just kind of see your stitches. I don't know. So again, there's 2 rows of stitching along the bottom panel. We're going to sew from the outside one, back stitch, all the way down, back stitch, and then if you want, you can kind of like angle out your back stitch into the seam, because we're going to cut the excess kind of tapered. So that's what that looks like. See, there's no stitching here, and I might have 1 little stitch out here. Not a big deal. So there's that. We're just gonna repeat those steps on the other side. Like I said, if you wanna kind of like come in at an angle to backstitch and then straighten up, try to fold your seam open if you can. Crap, mine was not folded open. There's nothing I can do now. Okay. All right, so let me show you how we're gonna cut this. Oh, make sure you don't cut through the rest. Just like that. And then if you want to, you can trim your seam allowance here and here. I don't really do that. So the exterior is done for now. We're not gonna turn it right side out. There's no point unless you just really wanna look at it, then you can. But yeah, I am excited for this bag. So exciting. I do need to add a nameplate. Hold on, let's do that really quick. So I'm gonna center it over the zipper panel section. Need a longer zipper or longer ruler. I need a longer ruler. Hey Connor, what are you doing? There's a show called Supernatural that I really love, and in it there is this symbol that's called a devil's trap, and you put it on the floor to catch different demons or whatever. But they released little rugs at Hot Topic that have the devil's trap on them, and my cat Connor loves laying on it, so I always joke like, hey, I caught a demon. Haha, haha. Enjoy that story. Probably should have added a nameplate before this second, but whatever. So 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, there's my middle. Goodbye. nameplate added. Okay. Just gonna set that aside for now. We are ready to start on the recessed zipper panel. Okay, so there's these pieces. Because I'm using vinyl for my recessed zipper panel, I'm not going to be using a second fabric. So this is totally up to you if you want to do it that way. If you're using leather for this part, I would highly recommend not adding a lining fabric to it, just because leather can be super thick. And sometimes it's nice to see the raw side of leather, just saying. And if you really, really didn't want to see the wrong side of the vinyl, I mean, you're not going to, if I'm being honest, but you could always use like Heat and Bond Light to add a fabric to this side. I honestly, that's something I would like to do more of. But we're just gonna fold each side under 1/4 inch. I lied. 1/2 inch. Dadoy. I'm sorry, did you write this pattern? Because it doesn't sound like you did. 1/2 inch. Makes more sense. I'm gonna grab a zipper. Zipper. Ah, I have that same like corally orangey color. It's happening, man. Hopefully she likes it. Oh, hopefully. I know she loves purple, but. So I am ironing my zipper. So we're gonna lay these right sides together. And then for this part, I'm going to fold my zipper pull, or my, the top of my zipper down out of the way. And then make sure you kind of feel underneath where your zipper panel stops, because you do not want to sew past your zipper panel. Okay. Trim all your little excess threads. And then we're going to open this up and sew down. I like to fold it over and clip. And start from one side, just so your stitches don't start to fray. This will be kind of hidden inside the bag, so. So now we have one wing on the zipper ready to go, and we're gonna line up the bottom edge with one of the side edges. Flip it in place, and then I'm gonna flip it over. And clip again. And then for this side, again, you just want to fold your zipper so that there's no raw edge of your tape. Start from this side. Then we're ready to open it up. And when I fold it over, I'm actually folding more than where I've stitched, only so that there's less zipper tape showing. I'm not sure why I do this, I just like the way it looks. You don't want to sew so close to the zipper tape that you can't unzip it, but I think it's really nice when you only see like a little peek of the zipper. I don't know, man. Make sure you fold that over nicely. And pivot. Oh yeah. I don't know, it's just so satisfying. You see that just like peak of zipper? Ah. I thought I heard that. I think I probably make the same noise every time I run out of bobbin thread. But it's so annoying. What they like, it doesn't make sense. Like, sergers don't need a bobbin. Why should regular machines need a bobbin? Somebody tell me, is there an industrial regular sewing machine that doesn't require bobbins? Because I would pay so much money for that machine. Like, can you imagine never having to change a bobbin? Well, not never, but like once a month if you sew a lot. That would be, like, my heart would explode from happiness. Okay. Get that back in place. Kind of unzip. Get closer. All right, so most of your zipper panel is now finished. We just gotta trim it down and add the little tail. So you can use a zipper end piece of hardware if you wanted to, or there is another pattern piece. Pattern piece 8 that you can use. And if you've got a regular domestic machine, you're only going to be able to sew on one pattern piece 8, but I thought it might be kind of fun to sew 2 together and then sew it on, just to give it like this really nice thickness. So that is what I'm going to do. We're going to try it out. And I have one that I've cut out nicely and one that isn't cut out at all. And I'm just gonna lay these on top of each other and sew around really, actually I'm not gonna sew really close to the edge. I'm gonna sew like a foot length away from the edge. But try and keep that like square shape to it. Yeah, there we go. That's not beautiful, but we'll just put that underneath. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to trim them together. I'm gonna make sure that my zipper panel is 18 inches. So this end starts at 1, and I'm gonna just cut it right here at the 18. And you can save this little bit for something else in the future. And now I'm gonna fold this over like that. Oh yeah, baby. Yeah. You can clip this in place, you can baste it in place, whatever. But now we're gonna sew along the outside edge to finish off our zipper. And then I'm gonna sew through, you know what? I'm not gonna sew through the bottom. I love the way that looks. I'm just gonna add a rivet. Okay, so I'm cutting my threads long so that I can thread zap them off. Oh, this is so satisfying to look at. Look at that pop of color. Oof, I did good. Hopefully my sister likes it, or I'll cry. So now what you can do is you can add a little rivet right in the middle. I'm gonna do it. And this really doesn't add any kind of strength or stability to your bag. It is literally just for show. I don't know, I think it looks pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of like a snap, where people think you can like snap it into place, but they'll look and be like, oh, that's pointless. So, up to you. Totally up to you. So now that that's done, I'm ready to set it aside and work on the rest of my lining. So that brings us to page 14. Whoop, whoop. So now these are steps to add the magnetic snap. I'm not adding a magnetic snap on this bag. Obviously, we worked on the magnetic zipper. So I'm gonna grab the rest of my lining pieces. Got another one of these. This is the top. 1 lining panel, 2 lining panel, 2 slip pockets, 1 zippered pocket. We've got all kinds of things going on, you guys. All kinds of things. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add the zippered pocket, but really what I'm doing is I'm just adding a slip pocket. I'm not gonna add a zipper to it. So I've got my center crease here. I'm gonna grab one of these panels here and I'm gonna fold it in half the opposite way to add a center crease. Nope, that's the same way. And I'm gonna lay it down, matching up those creases. You can see how easy it is to just find the center when you do that. Piece 6 on top of the center crease, 3 inches from the top of the lining panel. Oh my gosh. I was so close, so close. So now we're ready to mark out our piece. Again, you can add a larger zipper pocket if you'd like. I'm just adding a 7-inch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this up. I'm gonna add a clip. This doesn't actually help me keep it in place, but I like to pretend that it does. So yeah. Back stitch. Cut this open. gonna press this open with my iron. Lay this down. So if you weren't gonna add a little accent around this opening, what you can do is you can just stitch around, you can add your zipper, but I'm going to be adding another little accent just because I think it's fun. So grab my basting spray, spray it in the trash can. Just a little tiny spritz is all you need. Super sticky. Just line it up. Okay, and then I'm going to sew around the outside edge. And then I'm gonna sew around the inside edge. And then we're just gonna dip on over to the other side. Thread zapper. Alright, and now we are ready to add the other side of this pocket. If you are going to birth through, no, leave this open. You have to leave this open. There's no other way of putting that. You have to leave that open. Sew around the outside edge, leaving the bottom open. What are we gonna do? Repeat it with me. Let's make this like Dora the Explorer. Leave the bottom open. Leave the bottom open. Didn't give myself much room here. Just going really carefully around the top, making sure I catch both sides. But I did catch it. If something like that ever happens, honestly what you can do is you can top stitch along this part again, because you don't need to get into the top of your zipper or your pocket, I'm just saying. So we're gonna fold this open. And now we are going to work on our slip pocket. This part's pretty cool. Page 15. So this is the optional sectioned slip pocket that you can add. It says to cut 2 of these pieces from your lining and sew them right sides together using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then flip it open, and then you would top stitch along it again. But if you're using waterproof canvas, you know that it gets really, really thick, so you would not want to do that. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna fold this top edge over twice. I'm gonna use the help of my iron to help me keep it all in place. folding it over twice so that make up for that part I'm not sewing. If you've ever tried to fold waterproof canvas, you know it's not easy. But if you steam it first, it kind of loosens it up when you fold it. Alright, so we're going to sew along the top. And I am actually going to be adding 2 of these pockets to this bag. So we'll be doing this twice. I'm gonna add a second row of stitching just because that's a very long fold over. I don't like the way it looks. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna just repeat that step really quick on this one. So just to kind of loosen up that edge, what I did was I steamed it really quick. I'm gonna press it, add these clips. I'm gonna fold it over again. I'm gonna try to anyway. Yeah, there we go. Guess you could use double-sided tape too. There we go. Nailed it. Okay, so this is gonna be a little weird to explain, and it might be just because I'm lazy, but I'm actually going to keep this double line of stitch and keep this single, just because this is a diaper bag. There's gonna be a lot of different things going into it, so I feel like if you remember you put something in the pocket with 2 stitches, you can direct your husband to that or something. I don't know, maybe it's weird, but I thought it would be kind of fun to do, so that's what we're doing. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this. Perfect. So I'm gonna fold my zipper up, I'm gonna fold my pocket up, and I'm gonna clip it to the top like I'll never stop. Just because I don't wanna be sewing through it at all. It would be bad, it's bad news, we don't wanna do it. And we are going to lay this piece right sides together, 1 inch from the bottom. This is kind of hard to line up. You could actually do it from the other side. That might be easier, actually. Nope, still not easy. Okay, there we go. Clip that in place. Clip that in place. So you can see here that right sides are together and that your pocket is facing down. Seems weird, but it works, I promise. We're going to be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just kind of hold it out as you go. Make sure you're not sewing through that pocket, which somehow got unclipped. Not cool. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this up and iron it. So this kind of covers our other slip pocket, but that's not a big deal. This one isn't going to be sewn down the center anyway, so it's okay. But we're going to want to grab our ruler and mark out 3-inch boxes on either side of this pocket. I know this seems a little weird, and if you want to add a slip pocket another way, feel free to do so. But the sides of this bag are kind of useless because of the way it tapers. So this is the plan I have devised. So I'm just making lines on the side. And we're gonna stitch down the sides and the bottom. Sew the top of the side shut 3 inches in. Please keep your pocket out of the way. Make sure you're not sewing through that pocket. Come down. And then honestly, if you wanted to, you could connect these stitches by just going along the bottom again. I feel like this is a game of caterpillar or something. Like trying to connect all the stitch lines. Okay, there you go. So that's our massive slip pocket. For the other one, we're gonna sew a divider down the middle, but I don't wanna obstruct this slip pocket. So it's just a really nice big open slip pocket. You can add a shit ton of diapers in there, or bottles will fit nicely. And then you've got this nice little hidden slip pocket. You can hide something in there. Keep your keys in there or something like that. So now we're gonna work on the other side. Whoops. All right, so right sides together using a 1-inch seam allowance. Nailed it. Clip it in place. You could even use double-sided tape to hold that down. Use the 1/4 inch. Fold it. There we go. Just holding it on straight, letting my machine do most of the work for me. Okay, and then I'm going to take it over to my iron and flip it up. If you need to. I'm going to add my stitch lines 3 inches from the side, and then I'm going to add one right down the center. I don't think there's a way I can centipede this stitching. Maybe I'll try. And okay. So I'm going to start with this side. Baste that top closed. Nailed it. Okay. Nope, that's gonna make me mad. Oh, why didn't I just like connect it down and around? Doofus. Anyway. Okay, so our lining is almost done, you guys. Our bag is almost done. This is insane. So here's our nice big slip pockets. Nice and cozy. So we're ready to add our zipper panel and our piece number 5. So we're sewing the lining. You can skip a few steps if you're not using a recessed zipper panel, vice versa if you're using a magnetic snap. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our lining right side up, mark out our center, add a little snip. We're gonna take our zipper panel and we're gonna fold it in half so that zipper panel to zipper panel, this little tail we're not gonna measure. We're gonna fold it in half and we're gonna add 2 little clips at the center. Laying it face up so that you can see your zipper, you're gonna line up those center snips and clip it into place. And then take piece number 5, this 1.5 by 18 inch piece, and lay it over top of that. And add some more clips. And then I'm gonna be a weirdo. I have this little piece sitting here. I'm gonna sew it together and add a little snap hook, and then they can clip things to it if needed. So I'm just sewing down the center. These are just little 1/2-inch pieces that I had left over. And I'm just gonna add a little snap hook and sew down again. I'm gonna test this out. So I'm going to add it right in front of my zipper here, like that. So it's just kind of hanging there. And I like to do this in front of the zipper so that like if you needed to, you could just kind of like reach in and grab it if you needed it. Whatever it may be, who knows. So 1/2-inch seam allowance. So across the top. And then we're gonna open that up and sew across pattern piece 5. Oh, stitch length a little wider, please. You do not have to use vinyl for this piece. It actually says to use the exterior fabric, but I didn't have the exterior fabric in front of me. I had the vinyl, so I said, screw it, I'll do that. All right, we're gonna grab our other lining panel and fold that in half and make a little center crease. And we're going to lay our lining panels right sides together and our zipper panel on top. Match up those center snips. Add a clip. Add a clip. Just kind of smooth it down. Add a clip. And then grab our other piece, number 5, lay that over top. There's never enough clips. Get that snap hook out of the way. Hi, Ben. fold that open one more time. Looking real nice. I guess it would be nice if I could touch your lining. I know not every bag has got a lining like you. Truth though. All right. So now if you wanted to add a center divider, this is the time where you would do it. I'm not doing one for this bag, but I am doing one on the all vinyl version, and I will make a separate video only explaining the center divider because it is a bit of a mind meld. I don't know. Hello, Benjamin. Could you please go to your spot if you're going to hang out here? Please? You have to sit down if you're going to hang out here. Whatever. Okay, so now we are on page 16, which is the last page, which means we're almost done. Almost done. Okay, with the finished lining pieces, place them right sides together. That doesn't make sense. Place finished lining pieces right sides together. Okay. Unzip the recessed zipper. You don't need to unzip it if you don't have one, so feel free to skip that. We're gonna use a 1/2 inch seam allowance to sew around the sides. We are not sewing the bottom. The entire bottom will be left unsewn. We are gonna get to it later. And by later, I mean like just a few minutes after we sew this. Okay, so we'll clip the top panels together. Make sure your zipper tail is tucked in. Oh, it is, Ben. It's fine. Thank you for caring, though. If you were nuts like me and added 2 slip pockets, kind of line those up if you can. I mean, you should be able to if you follow the directions. Okay, we're only sewing the side seams. I'm gonna use a small stitch length, about a 3.5. You're literally sitting on me. Can you not? No. Okay, so leaving the bottom unsewn. Good time. That was fine. Oh, really? Is that what they said to you? That's so rude. Let's go beat them up. Quiet down. Quiet down. I'm going to trim my seam allowance right now. What is it? Okay. So now we can turn this right side out. I love the colors in this. They're just so pretty. Like nice and muted. Good autumnal colors. Okay, so the bottom is going to be wide open. Unzip my zipper. that's okay. And then if you have a zipper here, make sure you unzip it. You wanna make sure it's open. We're gonna grab the exterior of our bag, and we're just gonna lay the interior inside. Kind of take note which way your zipper is unzipped. You want them to kind of all, like, you want them to go in the same direction as far as that goes. Yeah.
That's so nice. Just ask me what you'd like me to do, and I'll try my best to help.
As far as that goes. And she thought I said Echo. That's funny. Echo, tell me a joke.
How do you know if you are a pirate? You just are.
Good one. All right, so we're lining up our side seams and adding clips. And it's gonna look great. Oh yeah, it's gonna look great. At this point, if your lining is a little bit baggy or is too small, you'll need to adjust it. And you can kind of tell something will be bunching. It won't fit just right. So I'm clipping it from the inside of the bag because we're pretty much gonna follow along that top seam. I didn't trim this seam allowance because it adds a nice thickness to the bag, but we're just gonna follow along the inside edge. 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna use a 4 because this is all vinyl up here. And then again, as always, if you're readjusting, just keep your needle down. Side seams, I add just one single little back stitch, one singular back stitch. So now we're ready to birth the bag. And if you had left only your zipper pocket open, you might be thinking, whew, this is a big bag. I don't know if I can birth it through that tiny little hole. But wait, we left the entire bottom open. Hello, you left me open. Anyway, so we're just gonna reach in, grab the bottom of this bag, and pull it through completely. How about that? Push out your corners ever so carefully. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to put our hand inside our opened slip, zipper pocket, whatever. We're gonna pull that pocket out, and then we're gonna grab just the lining of the bag also. And we're just gonna pull the unsewn lining through that hole. Takes me a little bit of pulling, but you want to grab just the long bottom unsewn edge and clip it together. And I just kind of hold it together as I sew it. Not to brag or anything. But you can even use a little bit wider of a seam allowance here since it is the bottom of the bag and you don't want it to be too saggy. saggy bags are the worst. Sewing across that. We're gonna bring the unsewn corners together. This is gonna take some pulling just because we don't have it fully out, but it's a lot easier than birthing a bag through a tiny hole. Well, that's what she said. And then we're gonna sew that together. And you're kind of sewing like right next to your basting stitching for your pocket. Okay, and then I'm going to trim that extra fabric. And then we're going to repeat that on the other corner. If you need to pull it out a little bit more, please do so. We'll add clips. This time. Alright, so we're ready to stick the lining inside the bag through that open hole again. Just kind of push it back out, push it inside the bag. But not before we sew this closed. Stick that slip pocket back in there as well. This is taking me a minute because I like to really push those corners in. Okay, so now some people would like fold this over and top stitch, but that's not right. You want to make sure your lining is fully inside your bag, corner to corner, and you're going to be folding this top edge over completely. Just kind of roll it over so you only see the exterior fabric and clip it down. I like to just kind of roll that seam in between my fingers to open it up. Really want to reposition that lining in there. Make sure everything's lined up nicely. Awesome. So there's what it looks like from the top on the inside. You've got a nice big slip pocket. And you can see here that those would have been useless had they been left open. You could have stuck pens in there, but you probably would have lost them. So just kind of gives extra strength to the sides, really. So we'll test it by zipping it up. Oh, she looks good. You look gorgeous. So there's what that looks like. So we're gonna top stitch the bag. And the reason I leave the tail so long is so you can open it up so wide. So if you're like, wait, why? I don't understand. You could always trim it down a little more if you prefer, but this is kind of like how I do it. And then when we start top stitching, I like to start on the back of the bag behind a strap connector, because when you add your strap and you're holding the bag, you're not gonna see it, you know? So I'm gonna use a really, really small stitch length, like the smallest that can go, just to start off. And then I'm gonna go to a 4.5. And make sure you're only top stitching through the top of the bag, about 1/8 of an inch away. Leave your needle down if you have to reposition. Just kind of smush it, and again, roll that top edge in your fingers as you're going. So many clips break. Make sure you're keeping your zipper tail out of the way. It would be very sad to get this far and realize you've sewn through the tail of your zipper. See how it's kind of tucking up at me? Just get back in there. Go to your spot. Oh, I was not yelling at you, Ben, sorry. Okay, we're getting close to the end. Leave those threads nice and long, and we're going to burn them. Oh, baby, baby. Okay, so now we're gonna resituate everything, get it back in place, looking nice. I always like to poke each corner into each corner. Zip it up. So you might find that this zipper panel is maybe a little wide, but I thought it was like the perfect way, because if you stuff this bag, you can still zip it closed and you'll have plenty of space at the top. But if you don't have a lot in there, you know, you're not losing a lot of width, I guess. So now we're ready to add all of our handles. I'm not going to rivet them on camera, but yeah, she's pretty much done, and she looks real cute. And this is the Emily bag in the structured tote version. Oh, look at the front of that. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Sorry, that was weird. And of course, we cannot forget the crossbody strap. We cannot. So there she is. Nice size handles to make it easy for carrying, and it looks real cute. So thank you so much for joining me today making this bag. If you purchase this pattern, I can't thank you enough. It means the world to me that you guys support me and that you make awesome stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good night. Ben, if you're gonna help me make this, you need to sit down. Ben, hey. He's just ignoring me. Rude.